Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Lunch Table Takes. I'm your host, Evan. Today, I'm joined with Zach. And today, we'll be talking about two of the divisional games that happened this past week. And we'll just get straight into it with the Cowboys game, the kind of less exciting one. The Cowboys lost to the 49ers in a closer shootout than I thought it would be, but it was 19-12. Zach, what were your quick thoughts on that game?
I think it was, I want to say I think it was closer than what I originally thought it was going to be, because I thought that the 49ers were going to handle them pretty well. But then my mind kind of changed a little bit, and I thought, it might be a good game, because, I thought maybe the Cowboys might actually be a little bit better this year than I have been giving them credit for. Honestly, I think that game pretty much turned out how I thought it would turn out. 49ers won. It was a tighter contest. It was low scoring, like I also thought it would be. The 49ers have a very good defense, so that's kind of like the focal point of their team, I think, is their defense. So I think it really kind of played out how I thought it was going to play out. And my other observation from that game was that I think the Cowboys could have won as it is. Like, they could have won that game if Dak Prescott wasn't bad. But also, I think that they would have had even better chance of winning if Tony Pollard wouldn't have went down with that high ankle sprain. So those were my two. Well, and then I had the last thought. What was that last play?
Honestly, couldn't tell you.
Why? I realize it's okay, it's the last play of the game. We're just going to try to whip something up to get a miracle score, but what was that?
Yeah, Zeke at center, and then
and all the linemen were out wide. It was really weird. And this is the second year in a row now that the Cowboys have lost to the 49ers in the playoffs, and both times, you have a picture now, last year it was the horrible clock management, the picture of Dak handing the ball to the center instead of the ref. And then this year now it's that really weird formation with Zeke at center. So it's kind of man, the Cowboys, wow. Just wow. And then the other observation I had on the 49ers side of things was I did not think the 49ers were impressive as I thought they were going to be. I think they looked like a pretty beatable team, honestly. They didn't look quite as dominant and impressive as I had originally thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think this game was the first game that Brock Purdy looked like a rookie. I feel
I agree with that.
His first few games, he's looked more like a veteran quarterback, but I feel like he looked like a rookie playing in his, I guess, second playoff game. So I think Brock Purdy, he did enough towards the end of the game. He kind of got going there with he had a big pass down the middle to George Kittle, but other than that, he really didn't do too much. And obviously, like you said, I do feel like if Dak played it just a little bit better, I feel like they squeaked this win out, because it was basically just a kind of defensive game both ways, because you said, the Niners are really known for their defense, and the Cowboys don't have too shabby of a defense either. But I think just obviously losing Tony Pollard in the first quarter hurts them tremendously, because he's a complete different weapon than what you have in just Zeke, because he can pass and he's more of a faster runner. But once you're it's just Zeke, you already know what Zeke's going to do. So that kind of limited them a little bit. And then, I think this is just the Dak Prescott that we've seen the last couple of years, in this playoff stretch. I feel last week played a pretty good game. 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, played a pretty solid game. And then this game is the complete opposite. And I feel like that's exactly that Dak Prescott for you. You're going to get the really good, and then you're going to get the really bad. And so
I think he is one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks in the NFL. Because it goes like this every year for the Cowboys. I mean, I remember, last year, I think last year was the year that their offense was like really potent and everyone was like, oh, the Cowboys, like that was last year, right? Yeah. So, like, that's how it goes every year. Every year, the Cowboys come out with Dak Prescott and they're throwing for these just like really high numbers. And I mean, the stats look great. They're scoring a lot of points. But then, they get into the playoffs and it's just not like, I mean, Dak Prescott has one of those games where he just is not good. And he's just such an inconsistent quarterback. And I think after this game, I said right after this game, I said, okay, at what point as like a Cowboys like GM, Jerry Jones, at what point do you like start to question if Dak Prescott is the guy?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's won one playoff game in his entire career there. And while he's been there, he's been the most.
Yeah.
What's that?
He's won 2 games.
Okay, he's won 2. And since he's been there, he's been the most inconsistent, one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks in the NFL. So, like, I mean, do you really think this guy is going to get you to the Super Bowl or get you over the hump of beating the 49ers? Like, if I'm like Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, I am really starting to question that if Dak Prescott really is the guy. And I think one thing that they have to do this offseason is they absolutely have to get Tony Pollard back because I think Tony Pollard's better than Ezekiel Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it kind of sucks that they're overpaying a little bit for Zeke because I think they have to get Tony Pollard back.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with Pollard sustaining that fibula injury, I think the more likely scenario is he gets franchise tagged this year and then they run with that because you don't want to sign him on a long-term contract coming off of a fibula injuries because he more than likely won't play for like the beginning of the season. So it's kind of a tough break for him. But I think that's like the more likely it's what I've been hearing is what's probably going to happen.
They'll probably tag him, which is good because they got to bring him back. But I'm really questioning Dak Prescott here. I mean, 23 for 37, 206 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Like, is that really going to get you to the Super Bowl? Like,
no.
I don't think so. I don't think Dak Prescott's going to lead the Cowboys where they want to go.
I agree.
Especially
I don't think
his performances in the playoffs.
Yeah. I don't think like as we stand right now, I don't think Dak is I don't think he is like a quarterback that will take you to the Super Bowl. But I also feel like in my opinion, this game wasn't solely on Dak. It was because obviously those 2 picks were bad. But I feel like outside of CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz on occasion, the Cowboys don't really have any weapons. Yeah. So I feel like they need to. That's what they need to hit hard. They got to re-sign Pollard. Obviously, I agree with that. And then I think you either have to go get a pass catcher in the draft or go get one in free agency. Because, I mean, if you look at the list, it's CeeDee Lamb, who's top 10, top 15 wide receiver. He's good. Dalton Schultz, who's a fine tight end. And then other than that, you have Michael Gallup coming off a torn ACL. And then I don't even know who the rest
Noah Brown.
Noah Brown, who's like, he does good like once every like 2 games a year. So I feel like they had that with Amari Cooper, but obviously they traded him for pretty much nothing this past offseason. So I think they really need to get another pass catcher for Dak. I think that'll help a little bit. I don't think that like puts them over the hump unless they go out and get like one of these top receivers, but I don't see that happening. But I think if you get another receiver, I think that helps Dak a little bit. I think Dak would improve from this year because I don't think it can really get any worse.
Yeah.
But, like, because this is the worst season that he's played, and like if you look at his past seasons, like the stats don't jump out at you, but they're not like terrible. So I feel like if you kind of just get a couple pieces, then like he might be able to do a little bit better. But I also think, like, I agree. I think that there are internal conversations happening right now that like, is Dak our guy? Like, can we trust
Yeah.
him to take us over the hump and take us to where we want to go? But realistically, you think about it, they just re-signed him on this big contract, and like they're
Yeah, that was.
probably
I don't think that was a good move on the Cowboys' part. I don't think
yeah,
that
I
was a
agree.
good.
But also, like you have to kind of think about it, like who at this moment, like if let's say they do get rid of Dak, like who else would they get? Like
Yeah,
people are
that's the
like
other thing
Carr,
that I was gonna
Derek
say
Carr, like
too.
Jimmy Garoppolo, like
Yeah,
those. I don't think any of those guys really are going to go to the Cowboys.
yeah.
So I
I
think
think
you're kind of
I think
stuck with
Dak
that.
Prescott's like. Yeah, I think he's better than any of the current alternatives that present themselves, but it's a tough situation because I don't think he's that good. And the Cowboys hurt themselves paying him all this money because he has not proven that he's worth it. He's 29 years old. He's won 2 playoff games. They haven't beaten the 49ers. And I mean, like you said, I don't think this game was like really all on Dak. I mean, obviously it's a team game, but if Dak doesn't give the ball away twice, you wonder like, okay, maybe they could have at least, gotten something out of those drives, and that could have potentially changed the flow of the game. So I mean, it is a team sport, but ultimately it falls on Dak Prescott.
Yeah,
I
I
think.
agree. I think
Yeah.
the best thing that they can do right now is just put as much around Dak as they can for now and just see what happens,
Yeah.
because they're kind of stuck, like you said, like that. I don't think that contract
Well,
was,
that's really their only option right now.
yeah. So I
Yeah. I
think you
mean,
just have to kind of build with what you got and hope that maybe something good can come out of it. I also personally,
yeah.
I'm
They got to get
not a big,
guys around Dak.
yeah. I'm also not a big fan of Mike McCarthy. I don't think since he's been with the Cowboys, I don't think he's done that great of a job.
I mean, he's won a Super Bowl, but I mean, that was Aaron Rodgers. So like
Yeah. And like you see, like the last 2 times in the Super Bowl, like, or not the Super Bowl, sorry, the last 2 times in the playoffs, like the play calling at the end and the clock management has been horrible. And I know like some of that goes on to
yeah.
Dak, but like that's the coach. Like that has to be something the coach does.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's really the guy to
Yeah.
take them up into that next level. So I doubt they'll fire him, but just me personally, I think Dak and McCarthy together are ultimately what's kind of holding this team back. Because it's not like they don't have talent; they have plenty
I
of talent.
agree.
They're just, I feel like
Yeah.
they're, yeah,
On the defensive side, they need to get more offensive weapons for sure.
yeah.
They're limited on the offensive side, weapon wise. But yeah, I think that you definitely need to start questioning Mike McCarthy as well, along with Dak Prescott. I think both of them are on the hot seat. Because I mean, Mike McCarthy, I mean, outside of Aaron Rodgers' Super Bowl, what has he really done? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, both of these last 2 years has been ended because of, like you said, questionable coaching. So, I think the blame does fall on. I mean, it's the whole team, yes, but I think a lot of the blame falls on McCarthy and Prescott. So I mean, if I'm the Cowboys, both of them are on the hot seat going into this season. I think if something goes wrong again, those two guys are the first guys out, I think.
I agree. So, looking at the free Cowboys free agents this upcoming offseason, you got Pollard, Schultz, Noah Brown, Leighton Vander Esch, and then a couple more guys on the defensive side. So there's some like pretty, like those are some of the big guys for their team. So they're gonna have to figure out what to do with all of them. So what do you think is the best option for the Cowboys moving forward?
Well, like I said, I think you got to tag Pollard. You got to get Pollard back. I would keep Vander Esch, but I mean, those guys like Noah Brown, let Noah Brown go. I mean, I don't think he's not. I mean, he's not worth like paying like the. I mean, unless they're going to pay like a very minimum price for him, I don't really see a need to keep him around. I mean, I think they need to upgrade at the receiver position, but I mean, of those two guys, of like that group that you said, like Pollard and Van Der Esch, I think are two guys that they need to bring back for sure.
But yeah, I agree. I think, like we said earlier, I think bringing Tony Pollard back is that's the number one thing you have to do. I think franchise tagging him was probably the best option just because he's a running back coming off an injury. And then I do think bringing back Van Der Esch is probably second, just because he's been really good there in the middle linebacker spot. And then obviously Schultz is fine if you can get him back without having to completely like overpay for him, because he is kind of older. He's what, like 28, 29?
Yeah, he's around there. If you can get a team-friendly deal for him, absolutely though, because he is. He's probably in the top 10 tight end.
I would agree. Yeah, he's definitely top 10. But I could see him having a fairly large market. I can see like some other teams kind of swooping in, and if they overpay for him, I don't think
you let him go then.
Yeah, I don't think they should bring him back. And then I agree with you. I think drafting a receiver would be a smart idea.
Get Dak some more weapons than just CeeDee Lamb. And, just see what he does. I think if you get him another like starting caliber like receiver to go along with CeeDee Lamb, and if they can retain Dalton Schultz and like they retain most of this offense, and Dak Prescott is still doing Dak Prescott things, then at that point I think it's like, all right, we need to start looking into some other options here. Yeah,
I agree. They have the 27th pick, so they could probably get a solid wide receiver in the back end of the first, like a Jordan Addison or a Jalen Hyatt or somebody like that.
If they got either of those two guys, that'd be huge for them. I think that would be a great. I think that'd be a great addition to their team to go along with CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be.
Yeah, getting like a Bolitnikoff winner in there who scored 5 touchdowns against Alabama, that would certainly be helpful.
Yeah.
But
one thing that I did notice about, because obviously if you look at the stats, Dak, he missed 5 games, but he was still like tied for the most interceptions in the league, which is horrible, obviously.
Yes.
But I think it was like 12 of his interceptions come off of when he's pressured. And so they took like an average of quarterbacks pressured and like how they performed. And he was like 14% worse than the average. So basically what that's saying is him under pressure is horrible, like one of the worst. And so I don't know if that's the line being bad, because last I checked, their offensive line is fairly solid.
Yeah.
Or it's just he's holding on to the ball too long, or receivers aren't getting open. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think that kind of ties into it. But I also think he's also made some pretty stupid decisions throughout the year that has cost them games. And I feel like both of those is a recipe for not a good season, and obviously falling short.
It's a bit of both.
Yeah,
but I mean, as an NFL quarterback, I mean, you have to be able to stand up and deliver the ball in the face of pressure like that. I mean, being 14% worse than the average under pressure is not what you want to see. I mean, guys like Burrow and Herbert, I mean, and Mahomes even, I mean, they'll stand, and Josh Allen, they'll stand in the face of pressure and they'll deliver a good ball. So, I mean, I think that's something Dak Prescott has to get better at. Now, he might be holding on to the ball too long too, which that's also something that's his fault if you hold on to the ball too long. But I mean, if the receivers aren't getting open, that could be coaching and the fact of them only having CeeDee Lamb. I kind of always thought that their offensive line was like one of the better O-line units in the NFL. Now, I think they did have some injuries on the O-line, but I mean, all around, just Dak Prescott's leading the league in picks, missing 5 games. That's pretty bad. I mean, and being 14% worse under pressure than just a bare average NFL quarterback. Yeah, that's not a good statistic either.
Yeah, no, that's not what you want to see from the quarterback that you just paid the amount of money that they paid Dak. So
Why did they pay him all that money? Like, on what grounds was he requesting that and they gave it to him?
couldn't tell you.
Like, that just makes no sense to me. Like, I don't understand where he comes from, like, saying that he's worth that amount. And I don't know why the Cowboys said, yes, you are worth that amount. Like, I mean, that deal was just bad.
Yeah, not
that was a bad deal.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all we got for today. If you enjoyed, make sure to like this video, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.